The rain did not care for titles that night. It came down like gray sheets pulled over the city, drumming on bus stops, smearing neon into long tears on the asphalt. Under one broken shelter sat a man with an old jacket pulled tight around him. His name was Daniel. He watched shoes hurry past, faces hidden by umbrellas and speed. A black SUV stopped at the curb, its door opened, and a woman stepped out in a long red coat. She moved like someone who was used to rooms pausing for her. Her hair was soaked, her eyes were not. She walked to Daniel and lowered her voice as if they stood inside a church. "Please," she said, breathing hard, "I need your help." Daniel blinked rain from his lashes. "Ma'am, are you lost?" "No," the woman swallowed. "My name is Ella Lawson. I am a mother, and I am a billionaire." She knelt on the wet concrete, the red coat folding into the rain. "Please marry me." Silence is never silent in a city. It fills quickly with car horns and distant music and the soft disbelief in a man's throat. Daniel stared at her, then at the car behind her, then at the sky, as if it might hold an explanation. "You do not know me," he said. "Then tell me your name," she answered, steady but shaking. "Tell me, and I will tell you why I chose you." He hesitated. "Daniel." "Daniel," she repeated, as if trying the sound on her tongue. "I do not want your money or your fame. I need a husband, soon, not for love, for protection. I will explain, but first I need to know, what would you ask in return?" He did not ask for cars or suits or accounts. He looked past her shoulder at the shining city and said, "A real chance to live again, honest work, a roof. Let me earn my way. Do not buy me, hire me, trust me." Something softened in her face. She nodded once. "Then it is a deal. Come with me." He stood slowly, as if his joints were remembering an old dance. He followed her to the SUV, hearing the driver's quiet surprise and the city's loud indifference. They drove through streets that knew her name and forgot his. When the gates of the Lawson mansion opened, Daniel felt the old ache in his chest, some mixture of awe and caution that men feel when they step into a life that is not theirs. Inside, staff paused mid-step. A guard murmured into a radio. A maid looked at the man in the old jacket and then looked away, embarrassed for him. Ella led Daniel up a staircase, through a corridor lined with framed photographs, handshakes, ribbon cuttings, the smile of a man who must have been her father. She opened a guest room. "Shower. There is food in the warmer. Tomorrow I will tell you everything." She turned to leave, then looked back. "Please do not run away." "I said I wanted work. Running is not work." He cleaned. He ate. He slept in a bed that did not dip to the floor or smell of dust. Morning came in gold bands across the carpet. He woke to the sound of small feet, the bright thud-thud of a child's joy. A little girl with two puffed ponytails stood in the doorway, eyes curious and bold. "Mummy said there is a guest. Are you the guest?" He said, "I suppose I am." "I am Amira," she said, stepping into the room as if it belonged to her, which it did. "Do you know how to fix toys?" "Sometimes," he said. She held up a wooden bird with one wing hanging loose. "It does not fly anymore." "Then we will make it fly again," Daniel promised. At breakfast, Ella watched Daniel repair the toy with a precision that did not match the story of a man who lived under a bus stop. He found a screwdriver in a drawer, sanded a small splinter with the back of a match, tightened a screw 3/4 turn, and tested the wing twice before handing the bird back to Amira. "Where did you learn that?" Ella asked, trying to sound casual. "A man who has lost much learns how to repair what is left," he said, which was true, and also not the whole truth. After breakfast, Ella brought him to her father's study. The room smelled faintly of paper and old coffee. She closed the door and stood facing the window. "My father died last year. He built Lawson Petrochem from nothing. He left me everything, but with one condition. If I am not married by the time my daughter turns 6, the company goes to my cousin Chuka. Amira turns 6 in 2 weeks. She turned. I have met men who love my face, men who love my money, none who love my peace. I need a husband to protect the company and my daughter from my cousin's hands. I need the paperwork to be real, and I need the person to be honest." "You came to a bus stop," Daniel said softly. "I came to someone who did not chase my car, someone who looked like he would not sell me for a headline." He nodded slowly. "I will help you, but I do not want what you have. I want a skills program for men like me, placed under your foundation, quiet, no cameras." Her eyes widened just a little. "We can do that." They drew up a simple agreement, simple on paper, complex in the bloodstream. That afternoon, while Amira napped, Daniel wandered back to the photo wall in the corridor. There was a frame with a younger Ella beside her father on a plant floor, both in hard hats. Another frame, her father shaking hands with men in overalls. A third, a row of engineers standing in front of a relief valve cluster. The picture stirred something hot and old behind Daniel's ribs. He stepped closer to read the names. The glare hid them. In Ella's study, on a shelf, a rolled blueprint waited. Daniel's fingers knew the curve of paper like a pianist knows keys. He slid the roll open and traced a line with his eyes. Pressure feed, relief cluster, D7. His jaw tightened. Ella walked in. "You can read those?" "Some lines tell truth, some hide it." The phone on her desk flashed with an incoming call. She answered. Her voice changed, cooled. "Chuka," she said. The reply was smooth as oil. "Cousin, 2 weeks. I hear you have found a husband. Bring him to the board dinner tonight. The family likes to know who's drinking from our well." "I will bring him," Ella said, and ended the call. She looked at Daniel. "There is something I should warn you about my cousin. He smiles as if he cares how you see him. He only cares that you do." Daniel met her eyes. "I have met that smile before." At the board dinner, lights were low and laughter was high, and every suit was a perfect ocean blue. Chuka Lawson stood at the far end of the table like a painting of a successful man, perfect tie knot, perfect teeth. He embraced Ella with a cousin's performance and shook Daniel's hand with the soft grip of someone who never works with his hands. "And you are?" Chuka asked, holding Daniel's name hostage. "Daniel," Daniel said. "Daniel," Chuka repeated, as if trying the sound on his tongue. "Welcome to the family table. Tell me, brother, what do you do?" "I fix what I can," Daniel answered. "Ah," Chuka smiled, "then you may have thoughts about our incident last year at the plant. Press thought it was the tertiary line. What a tragedy. We lost millions." "Not the tertiary line," Daniel said before he could stop himself. "Relief valve cluster D7. Counterfeit part rattling. An alarm bypass to hide the noise. Whoever approved that order did not sign it with a clean hand." Silence traveled around the table like a cold breeze. For a second, Chuka's eyes sharpened before his smile returned. "Interesting," he said. "You speak like an engineer." "I speak like a man who reads lines." That night, as they exited the restaurant through a service alley, 2 men stepped into Daniel's path. They were polite, the way wolves are polite. "Oga says, forget your lines," one said. "Memory can be heavy," the other said. Daniel raised his hands. The first shove came. The second reached for his pocket. Daniel moved with that old dance again. Step, pivot, forearm up. No bravado, just survival. A security guard opened the door at the far end of the alley, and the two men melted back into the rain. Daniel exhaled and checked his ribs with a grimace. Back at the mansion, in the quiet of the hall, Ella passed the photo wall again and looked more carefully this time. In the old frame of her father smiling with the engineers, a name tag caught the light. D-O-K. The glare moved. The letters came clear. D. Okoro. She stood very still, the weight of a possibility settling on her shoulders. A message buzzed her phone from an unknown number. Ask your new husband why he vanished the week your father died. She found Daniel by the window, watching the rain draw nails of silver down the glass. "Who are you?" she asked, voice steady but hard. "No lies." He kept his eyes on the night. "The day your father died," he said, "I filed a report. It named the man who cut corners. By morning, my ID was blacklisted, my bank frozen, and two men were at my door. I ran, because if hyenas circle a house, you do not knock on the front door." "Why did you not come to me?" she asked, hurt coloring her words. "Because I did not know whether you were inside the circle or holding the lamp for them," he said. "I did not know you." Their argument ended with sirens. Police flooded the foyer with blue and red. Cameras gathered outside the gate like moths. An officer read accusations, data theft, obstruction. Chuka arrived on cue with a statement for the press about protecting the integrity of the company. Amira appeared on the stairs with her wooden bird and began to cry when handcuffs flashed. "Do not take my daddy," she wailed, a small voice that turned every head. Daniel looked up at Ella and spoke fast, urgent. "There is a blue folder in your father's safe," he said. "Back panel, left hinge. If I do not return, that folder is the truth." They took him. The gate shut on the sirens. Ella stood in the hallway with the echo of a child's word around her. "Daddy," a word that did not check bank accounts before it chose a mouth. At the police station, Inspector Enkem, plain clothes, tired eyes, watched Daniel through the glass. "You filed a report naming Chuka Lawson," he said when they sat. "It disappeared. The desk sergeant who logged it resigned. I kept a copy of your memo, but it is not enough." "There is more," Daniel said, "in her father's safe. If she opens it, you will not need me to speak. Paper will speak." While Daniel slept on a bench in a cell that was cleaner than the bus stop but not kinder, Ella opened the safe in her father's study. The dial yielded to old muscle memory, and the shelf swung back to reveal ledgers, a small SSD drive, and the blue folder stamped with the Lawson seal. Before she could touch it, a soft footstep whispered behind her. Chuka leaned against the doorframe with the calm of a cat. "Open it," he said, smiling. "Let us read." Inside the folder were procurement orders, maintenance approvals, drafts of a safety report, signatures that did not match the dates they were attached to. At the back was a sealed envelope marked D.O. Chuka tore it open and pulled out a note and a small steel key. "To D.O., if you are reading this, you came back to finish what the paper began. The truth is not on the page. It is under it." "Under the page," Ella murmured, eyes on the key. "Or under the plant." Chuka's smile sharpened. He thanked Ella for the tour like a patron thanking a guide, pocketed the key, and left. Ella did not chase him. She slid the small SSD into her sleeve, and this time did not shake. The drive opened to video clips and a folder named Relief Cluster D7. One video showed her father in a hard hat speaking directly into the camera with the plant noise behind him. "If anything happens to me," he said, "the bypass orders came from above the plant.
My signature was forged. Find the man who refused to sign. Daniel Okoro. Ella pressed her hand to her mouth and cried without sound. Then she wiped her face, printed stills, wrote a summary, and went to the police station before sunrise. Inspector Enkem scanned the papers and nodded once. We can release him, pending investigation, but if you move this publicly, the other side will move faster. They moved anyway. The old plant was a cold skeleton with a metal throat that still knew how to echo footsteps. Daniel and Ella crossed catwalks, flashlights cutting thin cones through dust. "LD line relay," Daniel said, pointing. "There is a hatch under the grating." They found it. They did not get to open it. Chuka arrived with 2 guards and the other key, polite as ever. "All together now," he said. "Let us meet the truth." They opened the hatch into a small vault of metal shelves and a drawer labeled Event D7. Inside lay a sealed bag with a data logger, 2 rolls of printouts, and a small voice recorder labeled Night Before. Back on the catwalk, Chuka pressed play, and nothing happened. Daniel took the recorder, flipped a hidden lock under the battery panel, and tried again. Ella's father's voice filled the space between them. "Relief cluster D7 was bypassed. Authorization did not come from me. It came from Chuka Lawson." There are silences that are empty, and silences that are full. This one was full. Then Chuka nodded to a guard to start a private stream to his lawyers and sneered about chain of custody, while a junior maid named Ruth, who had watched too many wrong things in that house, went live on Ella's phone to everyone else. Sirens came. Inspector Enkem came. The plant breathed like an animal deciding whether to awake. The catwalk shuddered when Daniel leapt to throw the data logger to Ella. She caught it, arms jarring with the weight, and fell to her knees as a screw pinged away into the dark. Daniel slid, grabbed a rail, and hung there above the vault. Chuka lunged. A guard grabbed for Ella's bag. Enkem shouted. Ruth gasped. Then the metal held. Everyone froze, as if their bodies understood what their minds were still arguing about. They all walked out one by one into the rain and the cameras and the city that loves a scandal more than a sermon. The lawyers argued about access and trespass. Ella's lawyers argued about whistleblowers and forensics. The public sang for a week and then grew bored, as public choirs do. But the data logger was original, the recorder authentic, the printouts aligned with procurement codes, and signatures folded into their own contradictions, like paper revealing the hand that pressed too hard. Chuka was arrested, his smile finally costing more than it paid. In the weeks that followed, the headlines burned and cooled and moved on. The court did not give speeches, it did its work. The board accepted the chain of custody. The company did not fall. It bent and then straightened again like a tree after wind. 2 months later, a simple building with an open door and a sign that read, Okoro Skills Center, Rebuilding Men, opened on a quiet street. Inside, men learned carpentry, electrical, and welding. Daniel taught them to measure twice and cut once, to keep their names clean when the world is dirty, to fix what can be fixed and leave what cannot to time, to God, or to wiser tools. Ella visited often. She did not arrive with cameras. She arrived with sandwiches and spare parts and a child who drew her family with crayons. Amira ran into Daniel's arms and showed him a new wooden bird, this one with wings carved by his students. "Do you still need a husband?" Daniel asked Ella, once in the little office where donations were recorded with a blue pen. "I need someone who does not run when the storm comes," she said. "I found that." They married without a stage. Rings were exchanged quietly. The staff who had once whispered now brought flowers. Inspector Enkem came in a suit that knew better days and gave Daniel a handshake that was a kind of salute. Ruth stood at the back, and cried a small, relieved cry she hid in her palm. The city did not care that day. That was fine. Not all good things need applause. In the evening, in a small cemetery where a simple stone bore a great name, Ella placed the voice recorder on her father's grave. Paper lies, but the voice does not. The wind moved through the trees. The city lights rolled up the hill like a slow ocean. Daniel looked at the stone and then at the little girl sleeping on his shoulder. "Do you think peace lasts?" he asked. "Maybe not," Ella said, "but lessons do." He nodded. He turned to her and spoke clearly, the way a man speaks when he wants his words to live in a house longer than he will. "Here is what we learned. True wealth is not money. It is an honest name, a peaceful heart, and the courage to stand when standing costs you. Guard those, and you will never be poor." They walked down the path together, 3 shadows in one shape, toward a city that would forget their names and remember their work. If you enjoyed this story, please drop a comment with your thoughts, like the video, and subscribe to African Tales by Bara for more powerful stories. Your support helps us bring more tales to life.